Welcome everybody to week 8. This is the second to last video of this series. This is the second one of the advanced video editing. And today we're going to look at what we did last week. We'll see some of the comparison with the digital audio recording compared to the audio recording. And we'll just have a quick discussion on that. And then we're also going to talk about the green screen. So the green screen is a fun device and you can use it for lots and lots of things. So let's first take a look at last week's recordings. I have pulled up here. How do I get out of here? These three.
Let me share your screen.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Let me share the screen here. 3 separate videos that we're going to talk about. These were the same recording. This is what we did last week. This first video on the left is the straight video that we recorded from a microphone. And so you'll hear the audio sound and how that sounds. And then we're going to compare that to the second one, which is a digital recording that we did on the Yamaha. And then the third one, we added some drums and a bass guitar. Now, if you really want to hear the audio, I suggest putting on a set of headphones. So if you want to hear the difference really well and clear, grab some headphones. Otherwise, I'm going to be recording this and you can listen back later if you want to hear the difference. So let's jump into this first one. Let me hit the, oh, I don't know if I shared my computer audio. I did not. I just need somebody to let me know if they cannot hear these. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to play the same thing with the digital recording. So could you hear the difference? There was, if I were to describe it, I would say this first one, I'll just back it up and do it again. I would say it has, compared to, I don't know how to describe that. Joel, how would you describe that? Is your microphone on?
It's not, but I should be close enough.
Okay.
Well, I guess you're using that mic, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a hard one. I mean, I think the thing is that when you hear the first one, it's like, it's really obvious that the sound is
Michelle, can you pin
not
on that?
Not really like professional, I guess. I think the thing about the other one is that because it's such a clean, nice recording, it doesn't distract your attention from the rest of the video, if that makes sense. So I would say that just by having that digital recording, the listener, like, they don't even think about it probably of whether that's digital or audio or microphone or whatever. But on the first one where it is microphone, it's really obvious, oh, that's a microphone and not digital, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
So it's like a subtlety that, like, when you do it, people won't necessarily notice it, but in a good way. Like, they're not distracted by it being the other way, if that makes sense.
It's super clean.
It's very clean.
There's no air noise. There's no out of tune problem with that. And my piano, I just got my piano tuned. So there's something about when you record on your microphone, it flattens the sound almost. So when you hear it over speakers, it's not like sitting at a live concert where the sound absorbs you. And yeah, digital recording sounds flat and it doesn't sound full. But then again, when you go to listening to it on a media, like on YouTube video, you're kind of listening to that digital sound. So it's almost like you're living in 2 different worlds, where I so prefer the acoustic sound in a live environment where just the vibrations fill my bones. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, and if you look at any microphone has there's like a graph of the frequencies that a microphone can pick up. So you got like your lower frequencies, and then you'll usually see this sort of like bell curve where it's like, this is where it picks up the frequencies the best. And that can be, you know, somewhere usually in the mid range, and then the high frequencies, it can't pick up as well. And so when you get a microphone recording, a lot of times you end up with hearing like the mid frequencies really loud, and maybe the low frequencies not very much, and maybe the high frequencies not very much. But on a digital recording, Aaron, you use that term flat. It's kind of because you're hearing the low and the high and the mids a little bit more evenly. And that also just makes everything more clear to your ear what notes are being played.
Now, after talking about that, let's go ahead and listen just again and see if you hear what we were talking about. Let's see, I need to share my screen. And again, we'll listen to that flat sound, or that. And we'll listen.
So on that one, like, for example, you can hear the low notes, but they sound a little thin, perhaps.
Yeah. Thin is a good word.
Yeah.
Let's listen to the second part. And now let's listen to the digital. All right, Joel mentioned a term. He's like, it doesn't sound professional. And I would agree that you listen to, we've all heard so many videos, like professional videos, watched YouTube videos, what was that? The big push in the 80s and 90s, MTV. We all know what they do. They take these and they produce the sound in a studio, and you can see they put on headphones. So they got their headphones on, and then they're singing it to the microphone, and then they go and digitally edit these. And then to do the video, they sync these up to their lips. We know that, yet it still looks normal. And I don't know if it's just kind of the culture that's been created with this. But yeah, it just feels more professional. Now, what we did to enhance that even more, and you don't have to do this, but we decided to put in a drum kit and a bass. And so let me play this third one, which is the digital plus a drum kit and a bass. And a cute cat. So I don't know, was that a little bit corny, Joel? Did we go a little far?
No, I mean, I think the thing when you're making a video, it's like, if the goal is to make it cheesy and corny, then go all the way, you know. Otherwise, you know, sometimes if it's like floating sort of in the middle between like cheesy and not, then you might end up with something that's kind of like confuses people.
Yeah.
So I think it's better if you're going to go that route.
Are people okay with listening to a piano performance and hearing drums in it?
I think so. Yeah, I think, especially, you know, with that style of music. Yeah, absolutely.
So again, it's a personal preference. And if you have the tools to do it, you know how to do it, and you can always experiment, try it out on your students and see if they really dig it. So
Yeah.
lots of fun things you can do.
For sure.
Shall we jump over now into green screen?
Yeah, I think we're ready for that.
Okay.
Do you want me to commentate on the lighting thing?
First, well, let me show with them the project that we're creating.
Okay.
And then I'll show you what I did. And then I had Joel come in and said, that's really bad. Let me help you.
Okay.
So, all right. So we come over here to this project. And so what I've done is I'm talking about, I'm creating
There's this green screen behind him.
Yeah, there's a green screen behind me, by the way. We have this video I'm producing, and then I'm going to come in and talk, and I'll say, hey, welcome to week 7, but I want my picture up here.
May ano na akong webinar. May attendan lang ako.
And
Okay.
Michelle, you might want to mute
Bye.
that one that's talking. I'm not sure who that is. So over here on my right side, I've got this little video of me talking, and then on the main screen,
Yeah, share your screen here.
oh, I'm not showing my screen.
Just looking at your face.
Oh, that's what they were trying to say. Okay, sharing my screen. I gotta go back to Zoom. In Zoom, share my screen. Okay, so now you guys can see what I'm looking at here. So there is a record button in the top left. When you hit that, it allows you, and I don't know if you'll be able to see my record. Joel, you'll have to let me know. Can you see my little record things? I get an error.
Yeah.
And my error says, hey, you're using this already on Zoom. You can't use it. But I'll close this. You can see behind it, though, I have this screen thing on the left. I can record my screen. I can record my camera. I can record my microphone, and I can record my system audio. And that's your computer sound. So if you're playing a video, you can actually record that. And it does a really, really good job in recording the audio. So I'm just going to close this, but that's how you get there. Let's see, back to Camtasia. So now you can see, once I've recorded it, what it does is it puts it over here in one of the screen recordings, and then you can just drag that screen recording down to your clipboard. And so that's what I've done. And you can see there's 2 lines here. This top line here is this video. If I delete it, you'll see my video disappear. And I'm like, Control Z, I don't want that to disappear. That's part of my recording. The one below this is actually my screen. So if I delete this, you'll see my screen capture is gone. So now you can see my screen capture, and you can also see my my video. What's really cool about Camtasia is these are independent. So if I wanted to make this bigger because I can't see me, then what I'll do is I can just make it bigger, and I can put it wherever I want. The other thing I can do is crop. So let me give you the original size of this video. This is what I recorded on, and you can see my green screen behind me, but I have some other black stuff. You take that and you can crop it out with this cropping tool. And you don't want to get too close to the shoulder because I might move, and then it looks a little weird because my arm goes out of frame. And then I'll crop this head off. I don't think I'll be jumping in the video, so I'll be safe to be just right inside of there. And then I can move it over here. And now I can adjust the size of where I want it. So I don't want my head kind of going in the words. So I think I'll put it right over here in the corner. And now it has this green box, but the reason we record with a green screen is so we can remove anything behind the green box. So you can't see the words here, but if I go over to the visual effects and I come down here to this remove a color, and I just drop it onto the video, which you can drop either down here or onto the video up here. Where did it go? And then I have this remove a color effect. So now over on the right side, you'll be able to see that you can pick a color that you want to remove. Well, the easiest way to do this is to do the color picker, because then you can get the exact color you want to remove. And if you did a good job with the lighting on the green screen, it will all be a very similar color. You can see these numbers pop up. These numbers are the color of green. There are millions of colors. And you can see they're different, but you want to get them as close as possible. I'm going to pick a color close to my head. And this is so that I can remove that one really well. And so now you can see everything around me. Now, a lot of times when you see these videos, you'll see a green little line around the figure.
Can you zoom in on that, Aaron?
Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, in fact, that would be good. Let's go up to 75%. Is that a little
Can
easier
you
to see?
go a little more?
Let's go 100. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So there's this green line. And how do you get rid of the green line? Well, over on the right, you have three controls. You have your tolerance, your softness, hue, and defringe. I haven't figured out what the defringe does other than just messes things up. So I'll probably do a little bit of research on that. I can hit that reset and it'll go back to 0. My tolerance was set to 10% by default. If I move the tolerance over, what this does is it takes out more, it takes out anything close to that green color. The problem is, as you move more and more, it'll take out everything until you're left with nothing. And so you have to find the perfect tolerance balance. So if I move this over to right there, you can see my shirt has started to disappear. So that means I need to go back to the left a little. Now I'm very close at 38%. I'm going to move just a little bit over. I'm looking at my shirt here. Okay. 36% is, whoops, 36%. 37 is too much, but 36, no, 35. Okay, 34.
And
No,
I would even
35.
say too, like when you're adjusting these, find like where that edge is and then even back it off a little bit more, because as you move in the shot, that can also cause it to show green. The lighting is going to be changing while you're moving. So sometimes if you want to back that effect off just a little bit, once you found where that edge is, that makes sense. Also, just a quick side note. We're showing you guys how to do this in Camtasia, but the process of doing this in other programs like Final Cut or Adobe Premiere is going to be very similar to what Aaron's showing you right now.
Okay, so now Joel said, that's kind of amateur work here, because he looked at this and he starts seeing the details like the shadows on my eyes. And
Right.
So as you start looking in, you can see shadows on my eyes and the hue on my face. Like if I take this hue and I move it all the way to the right, you can see the hue is different. And he said, well, I kind of like that hue. Okay.
On this side, when it's all the way to that left side, Aaron looks really pale, for example. And hopefully you can see that okay through Zoom. But the colors, made him look really pale when he had the hue set to 0. So we had to adjust that a little bit so that his skin tones would show up a little bit better.
Yeah. So I'm going to just put my hue back to 0. And I personally thought that was pretty good. Joel said, what did you do? So we're going to have Heidi show her camera.
Yep.
And let me just stop sharing my screen. And let's just take a
should
look
we
at the
have-
setup and talk about some different things you can do with green screen and how you get that.
Can you guys still hear me okay if I'm away from the mic here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Heidi, I'll be talking at Heidi's camera here, but so if you look here, when I came in, Aaron had his setup like this. So he had this light here and he had this light here, both on his face. And then we also have these overhead lights up above, which are,
If you
kind of
point
that.
the camera up to the light.
Yep. Now, if you remember looking at the video that Aaron just showed, there was a lot of shadows on his face. So the first thing when I came in is I said, well, your lighting was good enough to get the green screen to cut out. But what we want to think about when we're lighting for green screen is you want to have lighting for the screen and separate lighting for the subject, ideally, if you can. Well, what we have here is we actually have 4 lights. Now, Aaron was just using 2 lights on that. So I said, hey, let's see if we can make this a little bit better. So let's see, thinking, Aaron, on the first one, did we use the softboxes? We did, right?
We did.
Yeah, okay. So here's what I did is first of all, these lights are set at 20% brightness. And I said, let's crank these up. Let's get these up to 100% because these overhead lights are so bright that we need as much light coming from other directions as possible. So that was the first thing I did is I said, let's crank these up to 100. But it might be hard for you to see, but I see shadows now on the green screen. I can see shadows from Aaron's body. Well, I don't want that, right? That's going to mess up my green screen. So what I did is I said, I'm going to take one of these lights and I'm going to put it over here, drop it down a little bit so it's kind of in the center. And I want this light is not shining on Aaron. This, Aaron's over here. This light is shining back here. Okay, and that's what I want for that one. But now, I've got one side of my green screen that's better lit than the other. So I'm going to take my second light and I'm going to go over on this side. So what I'm shooting for with my green screen is I want my green screen to be as evenly lit as possible. So I'm going to drop this light down a little bit. So I don't know if you guys can see this clearly in Aaron's video, and we still have a little bit of shadow thing, especially the closer he gets. So what we did on our second shot is I actually backed this green screen up a little bit. So I'm going to just back it up about a couple of feet.
You might have to talk a little louder as you get further away.
Okay, so I moved the green screen back a couple of feet. And now, if you look at the green screen is, if I'm close to it, you can see shadows, right? Shadow. That's bad because when there's a shadow, that means we're getting different colors of green, right?
Makes it hard to get rid of the green.
That's right. But now look how evenly that's lighting up now, right? That means that's going to be much easier to take care of, right? Now, Heidi, I want you to get in close on Aaron's face. So the next problem I saw, and maybe it's hard to see, but there's a lot of shadow on Aaron's face, and that's because we have a bright light up above his head, and we have almost very little light coming from this way. So I told Aaron, I said, hey, let's grab these soft boxes. So we have these other lights here. We pulled those out, and I said, let's get these guys on. And I can get these in nice and close, right? Because we're behind the camera. And
so now I got a shadow on this side of my eye.
Right.
But this side's pretty well lit.
Right. Now you'll notice I'm doing kind of a cross pattern here. I've got one light on this side and it's shooting across. And I'm doing the same thing here, shooting it across. Now, the reason I'm doing that, oops. Sorry, this stand has a little trouble staying up. There we go. I'm going to drop it down a little bit because it's a little too high. But the other reason I'm doing it that way, that cross pattern, is because it's not, some of this light is going back to the green screen, but because they're crossing this way, it's still keeping my green screen relatively evenly lit. And if you kind of come over here, Heidi, and look, see now the shadows on Aaron's face are for the most part gone. And look at how even that green screen is. I mean, it looks, bright green on the top, and it's just a little bit darker maybe in the center, but very little. And so what I could do is say, I'm going to pull this one in just a little closer. Maybe pull this one in a little closer, but I don't want it to be, I don't want my light in front of the green screen, right, from the camera angle. So I can get close, but just not too close, right? And again, cross pattern, this light's shining this way, this light's shining this way. It makes it more even. And now we have a well lit thing. So 2 lights for the subject, 2 lights for the green screen. I've got evenly lit green screen. I've got nice lighting on my subject. Might move this over just a little. And now we're going to be able to get a really, not only a good, easy clip to green screen, but the subject's going to look really good as well. So, you know, and you can kind of fine tune it. You know, I still see just a little more shadow than I'd like. Now, we have the ability, our overhead lights are adjustable. I think our overhead light is actually just a little too bright. So I'm going to adjust that just a little.
That's the nice thing about the dimmable switch.
Yeah, so we have a dimmable switch on that. And now I'm not getting those shadows from the ceiling that were like covering up Aaron's eyes before. So now,
Looks
Aaron,
pretty clear.
yeah, do you want to show them the clip of after we adjusted the light now?
Okay, so we're going to compare that. If we want to switch, Michelle, if you could switch back to my screen sharing. And
so look at this one. You see all the shadows on Aaron's face.
let me go ahead and zoom out.
And you may not have noticed it before, but hopefully after watching that little explanation of lighting, it should be really obvious. Like you see, there's a lot of shadows on Aaron's face.
Okay, so we recorded the second one, and of course it drops it into the media bin.
Yep.
And I think it was this one right here. And we'll just put it right there, and we'll overlay this. And now you notice there is a problem with that though. Because the green screen was moved back, I have a hard time cropping it out. So let's see if I can crop all the way here to my shoulder. You're a little dangerously getting close here.
You could go to the left a little.
And then
bit.
over here, I've got a little piece of black at the top that maybe I can drop this down because I'm not going to be moving my head up too high. You don't want your head getting cut out. There's just a tiny little piece of black, which actually you won't even see if it's on a black background, which is kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to put this one over here. And then I also want to shrink it down so it's about the same as the other one. And you can do a side-by-side comparison. This one I might want to bring up just a little bigger than. Okay, are we about the same there? Okay, side by side. Next step is color remover. So you come over to the effects, grab a visual effect, grab your color remover, drop it on the picture. Come over here, grab your little picker color picker, and then click somewhere close. And you can now see that I have a line around it, but we fixed that with our tolerance thing. And now this, last time it was like up to 37%. If I get up to 40%, my shirt's gone. And I could zoom in. If I want to try to get a little closer, let's kind of zoom in over here. Well, I can't get too zoomed in. What do you think about that one right there? About 31%? Any more and it gets out of control. Okay, let's put these guys up here and zoom in and compare them side by side. I think I moved something out of the way. What are your thoughts, Joel?
Yeah, so hopefully it's pretty obvious. You guys can see that in the second shot that we did, the one on the right, that Aaron's face is much more evenly lit. And it just looks a lot more professional, right, than the one on the left. Now there's still maybe a little bit of fine tuning I would do to a shot like this. But it's definitely just just moving those lights around a little bit, right, made that shot look so much better by itself. Now, the one other thing I will mention about the green screen that's kind of important is that the closer the green screen is to you, the harder it's going to be to cut the green out from the subject. So, and there's two reasons for that. One is the closer you are to that screen, the more likely you are to cast shadows, which again, if you think about it, if you're casting a shadow on the green screen, that means the green color that the camera sees is not going to be even. And you want, on a green screen, you want the green of the screen to be as even as possible. So that's the first point. The second point is that you can also end up with what we call color bleed over. And that's where there's like the reflection of the light off of the green screen can actually get onto your subject. And then when you try to remove the green, you can accidentally remove part of the subject as well. So that's the other reason you don't want to be too close to the green screen. Now, Aaron, I would say you're probably, let's see, right now.
Should we switch to Heidi's camera?
You're about 5 feet. It's okay. Well, yeah, we could.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's.
So
In fact,
Heidi,
let's
come
also
over here on-
switch to her microphone. Is your microphone on, Heidi? Okay, go ahead and turn your microphone on because we want to talk about this. Let me turn this one off.
Do you mind if I take it for a second?
Sure. Did I switch it?
I have to find
looks
my
like you're on.
microphone.
Okay. Or you can just turn the volume
Michelle
down.
did turn me off. I can't get back to my Zoom.
Just turn your volume down. Right?
Well, it's also picking up the microphone.
Okay. Oh, I need to switch this. We've got this camera facing the wrong way. There we go. It was showing my face. Okay, wrong camera. It's like, yeah, it's showing it backwards. That's weird.
Okay, let's stop share.
Okay, so you can see here, we've got this green screen set up behind Aaron. Right now, it's about 5 feet away. Now, when we first got here, Aaron had it about 2.5 feet closer to him. There was the advantage to that is that made the green screen larger in the frame, which made it easier for Aaron to crop. But the bad side about it is we were getting a little bit of shadows. And I don't know if you can see this, but Aaron, come over close. I mean, if you get close, you can see hopefully that Aaron's shirt kind of turns green when he's close to it. Maybe come away just a little bit. It might be hard to see on Zoom, but his shirt almost turns kind of green here because the light is bouncing off this green screen and then hitting his shirt. So the further away that he can get from here while still keeping inside the frame of the green screen, the better, because that means there's less green that's going to get on him. And then that's going to make it easier to cut it out, if that makes sense. So hopefully you guys can kind of see that.
Now the size of the screen is a problem. So here is that we gave you this screen on the agenda. I actually put this in there so you could buy that if you want it. The nice thing about this screen is it folds down into a circle. And if you're smarter than the screen, and then you can put it in your closet. Okay, well, if you're smarter than the screen, I have to practice that. But it goes into a little circle thing. Now, what we have over here this screen is also on the agenda. It's a 20-foot long, so it goes all the way to the end of this wall and all the way to the end of this wall. So you can actually do some really cool things. This week, what we're planning to do, if you come over here, I have a drum kit. So this drum kit, I'm going to have a student play the drums. And we're going to put the green screen behind them and on the floor. So we've got 2 green screens. And another one we're going to do is a bass guitar. So I've got a student performing this week. They're going to do the drums, a bass guitar, and a duet on the piano. So we're going to put that thing together with a green screen, and we'll show you next week how that video turned out. We'd love to see your videos. We want to see what you guys come up with green screen. So if you have a chance to do anything with green screen this week, go ahead and do that. If you're not interested in green screen, just we'll wait until we can see somebody else's green screen work and just see what they come up with. I promise you, as you go along, you'll find some reason someday you want to use a green screen and do some really cool things. So I think that's all we have to say about green screen until we can give feedback on some users' projects.
Yeah, so maybe this would be a good chance to take a second for any questions you guys have about doing green screen stuff. I don't know if, yeah, I guess we got to turn a speaker on so we can hear somebody.
Yeah, let's turn on this speaker here, unmute me. And Michelle, maybe we can switch back to the screen and turn off Heidi's. She can mute that one. Michelle, can you highlight Joel and me?
I need better lighting on me.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Okay, Joel's actually blurry. You got a
Oh, is
blur
my
background.
blur effect on?
Yeah,
Let me turn that off. That's kind of annoying sometimes.
it's like you're in a haze. Okay, let's start with some questions. Valerie, do you have any questions on green screen? Have you tried any? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, well, just like you said, it's just getting to it and just playing around with it. Like the first little student that I had on the last video we had, I had him with a green screen, like the rain was coming through. And that was like a trial and error, because I found that, okay, how do I get this little guy to come from the green into this rain? And then it took a while for me to figure it out. And like you said, you go to that little area where it says hue, and that was one of the things that, like you said, the tweaking was the thing. And yeah, so, but I know you had mentioned about the car at the end of that video. That was actually someone's car. you thought I had imposed him in on the green screen
car though.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I just think it's really a fun technique. It's just getting in there and, like you said, just working at it.
Very good.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's so many variables. That's why there's no like one size fits all way of doing it. It depends on your camera sensor, how sensitive it is to colors and light. It depends on the lighting in the room, and all of those things. So when you put that footage into something like Camtasia, that's why they give you those adjustment sliders, is because there's just way too many possibilities of how that footage might actually come in. And so you can adjust it for the lighting and everything that was available to you, or that you captured, I should say. So you just have to, there's a little bit of an art to it, but playing around with it, just like you were saying, Valerie, like that's really what it comes down to, figuring out what's going to be the right setting. As a matter of fact, when Aaron shot his first clip that we looked at, he had adjusted the sliders to make it the best he could. And then we moved the lights around using the same camera. And he said, oh, well, I'm going to put this at 40% again. And I said, that's probably not going to work, because the lighting's changed. That means the colors are different now, all sorts of things. And sure enough, when he put the new clip at 40%, like he had the other one, I think that was on the tolerance setting.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It was
way too much.
It was too much for the new lighting. So even though it was the same green screen, same subject, same camera, all of that, just because we changed the light, we had to also change the settings for that next clip. So
I do have a question. What would be the reasoning for having to go from a green screen to a blue screen? What would be the reasonings you would use that? I know, yeah. Yeah.
You know, the thing about, a lot of times they call it green screening, but that's not actually the correct term. The term is chroma key.
Chroma key.
And chroma key just means you can select a color and cut it out of your image and make it, basically you're making that color transparent, just so it becomes like a glass window, right?
If I'm wearing a green shirt
Yeah,
and you use a green screen, I'm
Right.
gonna disappear.
yeah. The reason they use green a lot is because it's a rare color. Like you don't,
Yeah.
there's not very many other
Who's gonna
things.
wear that type of color?
Right,
This blue though, my eyes will disappear. You cut that out and then I'd be like a demon with
right,
no eyeballs because my eyes are blue.
right. Yeah, so it's just that's why green is really popular, is it's an unpopular hair color, it's an unpopular shirt color, it's an unpopular eye color, or well, I guess it's probably not a natural eye color for, I don't know anybody that has that color of green of eyes, right? I mean, maybe they do, but so it's just, that's why they usually use green, but you could actually use any color, but you
Okay.
just need to make sure that it contrasts everything else in the shot.
I've also noticed my green screens aren't the same color.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
Right.
they're different shades of green. Yeah, that's right.
you can use anything. If you have a white background, you can actually cut the white background out.
Yeah, just
You
don't
just
wear,
make sure you're not wearing white,
yeah, don't wear a white shirt.
but you have whites in your eyes. That's a problem.
Yeah, and white teeth.
So yeah, white teeth. So
Oh, well, most of us do.
so yeah, it's just, it'll take out any color you ask it to take out.
Okay.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you can only take out one color in Camtasia. I don't know if any program allows for more.
Yeah, matter of fact, like if you're using Final Cut or one of the more professional editors, you can select multiple shades of green to say, I want to get rid of this shade and that shade. And that comes in handy if, let's say, your green screen's not evenly lit. So let's say the upper part of your green screen is more like brighter green and the lower part is darker green. We didn't really talk about it too much, but if you look at the first clip that Aaron recorded today, before he cut the green out of it, the upper part of the screen was a lighter green color and the lower part of the green screen was a little bit darker. And it was still close enough that it was okay. But you know, if your color discrepancy was wider, Camtasia would have a hard time with that. Whereas some of the more professional editing programs you can select darker green, lighter green, middle green. You can make 10 different selections of green if you want and say, I want to cut all of these green colors out. And then it would do a little better job. But if your screen's really evenly lit, then you don't have to worry about
And
it.
the size of your screen, you want it to be as big as you can because you can only crop out certain amount. And if I lift my arm or something, and it goes out of the screen, then it kind of ruins the effect.
Hey, Aaron,
Yes.
one thing I use, it's Brandon here.
Brandon,
One thing I
if I can
use,
find you and pin you. Hold on.
it's under Piano Panacea.
Piano Panacea.
I got it.
Oh, you got him? Okay,
Oh,
thanks.
you got it.
No, you got it. Or
I got it?
Michelle did.
Maybe Michelle did. Okay,
We had a race.
go ahead.
So one thing I was noticing, like when you move the green screen further away, then you were saying, you had a hard time cropping, and you had with that kind of a green screen where it's circular, you had some black on the edges. I use the mask option or function in Camtasia, and sometimes use an oval.
Yeah.
And that really works well for cutting out those edges. I mean, you can still, you still have a little bit of leeway where you can move your head, but I've found that oval mask can really help.
Can you walk me through that?
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was asking Aaron, I usually edit in Final Cut Pro, and I was asking Aaron, does Camtasia allow you to do anything other than, that rectangular or square masking? And he said, I don't think so.
I haven't actually used that.
But he hasn't actually used it.
Where do you find the mask?
It might be under visual effects. Let's see. Can you scroll up or down?
Let's see. let's try it on. This is probably the best one to try it on. Because if I take this out here, you can see I've got a skeleton in my background, the screen. Okay.
Can you maybe change it back to green so we can kind of?
Yeah, let's turn that back to green. So I need to remove my, yeah, and maybe this is something you could learn. You click on this to remove it, you just highlight that and hit delete key. Now I'm back to my original green screen. Okay, so if I want to mask it, where do you say that's found?
It might be right where you're at. Scroll up. It just says actually mask, and it has a little circle. Oh no, let's see. Where is it?
Is it that? It's not the media mat, right?
No, on mine it says actual mask. Let's see.
Scroll down a little bit.
Maybe you're off. Maybe your version doesn't have. What version do you have, Aaron?
I think I got 2021.
There's more on the very bottom of that. You see where it says,
Oh yeah, yeah. Click them.
well,
Huh.
would it be
Okay.
under visual effects?
Well, I'm under visual effects now.
Hmm.
Okay, so I can look at that a little later. I think what I would do is just go to Google or to YouTube and just type in green screen mask Camtasia, and it'll probably pull up a video and show me exactly how to do it.
Yeah, and I have the 2020 version, so maybe it's
Maybe it's
configured.
hidden in a different spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and something you guys mentioned, but Brandon has pointed out to me because he does all the editing, is like the person who is on the green screen, who is like teaching or whatever. It's optimal if they don't move around a lot because I'm by nature, I'm really, really still. I kind of don't move a lot ever. And so for him to edit me, it's not too tricky because I kind of don't move a lot. But our son is really animated and, you know, he's telling what's going on, and trying to keep him in the green screen is more challenging. So
Not only that, the faster you move, the
Yeah.
harder it is to keep the green screen effect. So you'll see when you move quickly, there a green halo comes around. So it makes it hard if you move quickly.
So one way you can combat that, just so you guys know, is to shoot your video at a higher frame rate. So if you're shooting at, say, 60 frames a second instead of 30, or, you know, like 24 is a common one you can use. But the problem with a lower frame rate is you get a lot of what they call motion blur. And it's just because if you're doing 24 frames per second, you think about it, that's 24 pictures basically, right? And if there's fast motion in those 24 pictures, then there's more blur in those images. Like if you were to take each still image, you would see a bit of blur when there's motion. But if you're shooting at, say, 60 frames a second, or, you know, something even faster, then what you'll find is that there's less motion blur, and therefore you're not going to have as much of a problem cutting out the green when there's motion in the shot.
Does that make a bigger file?
It does. It will make it a bigger, larger file, which is, you know, more processing the computer has to do. And it does make it, if your computer is not able to handle the higher frame rates very well, then it's probably not worth doing.
Yeah.
But it's one way you can combat that.
And I can show you what happens, because I actually did an experiment where I moved my head back and forth.
That kind of looks like those bobbleheads.
Right.
Yeah, and if you see, go to where you're moving, Aaron, you'll see that when he moves fast, that you see right there, like he's a little bit blurry, right? His hair, his eyes.
You can see the green line again.
You can see a little bit of that green popping through from the green screen when he moves. So that's probably because I'm guessing this is probably 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I recorded at 30 frames.
And so that kind of motion. Now, if he would have, I don't even know if Camtasia will let you record at 60.
It does.
from your
Yeah,
webcam?
it does.
Okay. If he would have recorded that at 60, that blur would be maybe not even like perceptible,
Hmm.
or at least it would have been far less. And then the green screen effect would work better on those motions.
Of course, I was being dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, nobody moves their head that fast. But
Now, is that at the preset of that? I mean, how do you, is that when you first open up, it's how you get that 60 or 40?
I believe it's
That's the resolution. It
Resolution.
might be,
Oh, there, is that it? Oh, no.
I think you have to, no, that's the screen capture. And so it's that's, you got to go to the camera.
oh yeah,
one.
yeah, camera. This one.
But I don't
here.
know, does it? give
It's not
you-
going to let me do much with that. You can also, like, if you have a webcam connected, then you can get like 4K
that sounds fine.
webcam.
Or if you just record your other footage separately, like on a completely separate camera.
That's true.
Like if you're using a GoPro or a cell phone.
Which I've done a lot of
Um,
that too.
Yeah, and GoPros will let you even do like 120 frames a second if you want. Now that
For
gets,
slow-mo stuff.
yeah, you can use it for slow-mo, but you can also use it just for regular.
You do have to have a pretty powerful computer when you start getting
Yeah.
into those high density videos.
Yeah, for sure. And the file sizes will be much larger on a when you raise the frame rate like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those have been great questions. We can't wait to see your projects. Go ahead and put them in on the agenda. Of course, at the bottom, you have that link where you can share your videos. We're excited to see your work and give you guys some feedback. Next week, we are going to wrap this whole course up, and we'll just give you some final tips. Come up with questions. We'll be able to answer the last of your questions, but you should feel like you've learned quite a bit from the course and that you're able to create more professional videos by now.
Mm.
All right.
Thank you.
So if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and cut this, and we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right?